So the first ramp rush you'll want to master is the basic single ramp rush technique. This is done by placing a 45-degree angle wall with the traditional wall behind it, just like so. As you reach your opponent, you can build over top of him like this, and then finish by building yourself in to a 1x1. This gives you great leverage on your opponent, and it ensures that he will always have to shoot through at least 2 walls to take you down. You might be wondering what I mean by that, but if you were to see this down here from the high ground, a little bit higher up, more like this, you don't have a very good angle to shoot this out, and if you were to, you have to go through at least 2 walls, and it gives you plenty of time as this player to set down one of those bounce pads or a launch pad and get yourself down to safety. Now the second ramp rush technique you'll want to master is the double wide basic ramp rush technique. So this is going to start with the 45-degree angle walls again, set 2 of them, set those traditional walls behind, and I realized that this works best if you just move your cursor like so in a circular fashion. As you come up on your opponent, feel free to build out like this once again, and then you can set something to bring you down to safety or make your play. So once again, as you can see, it does the same exact ramp rush technique as before, except it is double wide. So once again, 2 walls to be able to knock out one side. You will have to eliminate 4 walls to totally take out these ramps. These are great ramps to build up whenever you are planning on setting a launch pad. Next ramp rush we're going to cover in this guide is the single ramp complex rush technique. So let's begin by setting a 45-degree angle wall, a flat, and then a traditional wall in the front. Now this one is a little bit trickier to get the hang of, but it's all muscle memory and you will get it with time. As you do get better at it, practice doing it while sprinting, especially in playground mode. That way you won't actually have to die and sacrifice your kill-death ratio. Now you're probably wondering, what's so good about this ramp rush technique compared to this? Well, if I were to get an angle to shoot out this 45-degree angle wall, the rest of the basic ramp rush technique is going to fall, whereas on the advanced complex ramp rushing technique, that 45-degree angle wall is shot out, there's still this L connected, and it ensures you do not fall to your death. Now, if you have the same exact angle right down here, you're still going to have to shoot through 2 walls no matter which wall you attack. So if you shoot here, you have to go through the first wall before you can hit the 45-degree angle wall. And if you're underneath, you're going to have to go through this wall before you can hit this 45-degree angle wall on top. So it just gives you a little extra cushion, and in turn, normally you can hear the build breaking if someone does pierce your build, and you're able to set a launch pad or a bounce pad to get yourself down to safety and eliminate that threat. When building a basic 1x1 on high sensitivity with turbo building enabled, you're going to have to look down or up whenever you build to ensure that you do not build pieces out like this. You see what happened there? So if I were to build my 1x1 while looking slightly down, it only gives me these 4 walls right here and then the 45-degree angle wall I jumped on. So let's try that again. So get in the habit of doing that and looking slightly down whenever you go to build your 1x1s. Now in the scenario that you're in a build fight and you need to gain floors quickly, instead of building all the way around for your 1x1, consider just building 2 walls to create a right angle and then a 45-degree angle wall in the middle, just like so. It allows you to gain that height a little bit quicker than if you were to get all the way around and build the 1x1. Now, if you're in this scenario where you're in a build fight and you've lost leverage to your opponent, that is, your opponent is on higher ground than you, a good way to retake the high ground is to build a flat, start building a 45 off of it, build another 45 above you, and sit here and turbo build. When you get to the top, build a flat, another wall, and start working back over the top of your other build, ensuring that if you're shot out, you do not fall to your death. Always remember not to overextend your builds by too much. Now remember, standalone builds in Fortnite can be broken down by just breaking a single piece if they're not connected to anything else. Now you're probably wondering, what do I mean? Well, say your opponent is on this block or this block. You can simply shoot out this block and both those blocks will fall with it. That brings up my next point. When scaling a mountain, always try to keep it as connected as possible. So as you can see, I can build this right here because I am at a 45-degree angle and it connects to the wall or to the mountain. So once again, I'm going to build another one of those. And just keep on working your way up while you're connected to the mountain. Build a flat and another ramp. And just work your way up the mountain. There is no rhyme or special way to do this, but as long as you keep your build connected to the mountain, it ensures that if a player shoots it out behind you, the rest of your wall is not going to fall. You will not fall to your death. So as you can see, there's just one wall that's fallen there, and the rest of the ramp heading up the mountain still stands. One of the more advanced Fortnite techniques I can bring you in this guide is a simple pop shot going off the side of your 1x1. So I've got a traditional 1x1 here. It's just 1x1 all the way around. So what you can do is you can jump out of this, shoot at a player below, and then build yourself off with a flat, only losing about one story. So just like this. Sometimes you'll even catch yourself at the same height that you jumped to shoot. Just like so. That time I let myself fall down another story, because in Fortnite, you can fall 3 stories without taking fall damage, but the 4th one will give you fall damage. So let's go ahead and drop down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see how I took a little bit of fall damage there? Let me head back up and show you that at 3 stories, you wouldn't have taken any fall damage. So here we are, back at 3 stories. If I edit this out below me, still sitting at 81 HP. So when you're cutting down elevation, make sure that you build every 3 stories. That goes for whenever you're dropping down the side of mountains, whenever you're dropping down your 1x1, or whenever you're dropping down a player's 1x1. Always remember, you've got to build a flat every 3 game blocks. 1, 2, you need to build a flat right here. If you fall down to here, you will take fall damage. In the scenario that you're in a build fight and you get built off just like this and the other player's running above you, well, what can you do? Your best bet is to jump, set a flat underneath yourself, and begin your retake. Always work back toward your build and toward your opponent. And then once you've built up with speed, always begin to track your opponent below you and put down DPS on their builds. Now some of you might be wondering, I always get sniped whenever I engage in a sniper battle with someone else. Well, it's probably just the way you're playing your sniper battle. In a traditional 1x1, it might not look like you've got many places to engage at, but with a couple basic edits, you've got plenty of room to engage your opponent. So you've got 3 different window peaks here across the middle. The far left window peak is by far the least commonly used, as your Fortnite player keeps his gun to the right, meaning you'll always want to peek the right side. Now I'll give you an example of this right now. So with an AR out, you can see this X whenever your bullets will go through the wall and won't. So right now, my bullets are going to go through this wall. I can shoot this loot llama all I want, but if you were the loot llama, you'd have a hard time getting a headshot back on me. Quite frankly, the only people that are going to have a good angle to get a headshot on me are ones that are on top of this mesa over here. So with that being said, you've got these 3 different window peaks to ensure you clean shots on this loot llama. Now, a personal favorite of mine in sniper battles, if you take out this top corner and let this triangle wall come down, you can peek the right side over the triangle wall with your head barely showing. The other thing you can do, because you can see through wood, you can actually scope it up and then slide just to the right, let the metal bang, and come on back. All while your opponent barely sees your head for half a second. But it's basically the greatest hard scope in Fortnite history. When in the sniper battle, always remember not to peek the same spot twice in a row. That is what will get you killed. You want to keep your opponent on his feet, and if he's sitting in his scope just looking at the same spot you last peeked, doing a simple edit maneuver will probably allow you to take out that opponent without much trouble. When establishing yourself in the high ground of a new circle and planning to build a base, you'll want to get a lot of real estate connected to the ground to ensure that players can't simply shoot out your tower by shooting 1 or 2 walls. So an easy way to do this is a traditional 1x1. Set a flat wall at the bottom, set a 45, and another flat on top. Now if you repeat this process a couple times, just like that, if anyone wants to shoot you out, they're going to have to go through about all 16 of these walls. It's actually more. It's probably closer to 24 walls they're going to have to shoot out to even be able to take down your tower. Now granted, that did take a good amount of materials, but in game, if you're building yourself up in a circle, it's always smart to build something like this. Take the extra couple of seconds so that a player can't simply explode you out and make you fall to your death.